So on that point, I hope y'all could stick around with us. We got couple more programs coming up tonight, and we're going to be able to talk. So I'm going to go ahead and start my music right now. Real talk, real healing.
Okay. I'm going to sign out. I love you guys. Talk to you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Actually, that's the wrong song. This is the song I was talking about. It's called Losing My Religion. Losing My Religion.
Losing my religion because it lost me. Don't want to lose my head because I gotta be sane to maintain my identity. So I keep waving the flag of victory. Trapped in a cult for over 40 years. As an adult with childhood fears. Fear of Armageddon, fear of destruction, Satan the devil, demonic destruction, fear of the elders, fear of leaving, fear of staying in, fear of grieving. The family I will lose, the friends will be lost, shunned if I choose. Such a great cause, must obey my conscience and not preach a lie. Millions now living will never ever die. Like Brother Farr said, and people sacrifice. Now they are dead, they wasted their life. But the Father observed, yes, he took note. They will be rewarded, they still have hope. But what about us, the ones left behind? Who do we trust? Since control of our minds. Yeah. Losing my religion because it lost me. Don't want to lose my head because I gotta be sane to maintain my identity. So I keep waving the flag of victory. Trust in God, trust in His Son, trust the written word, not organization, not the false prophet in bed with the beast, misleading God's people with lies they teach. 7 wicked men hold up in Brooklyn, taking in donations, calling it crooked, investing hedge funds, misappropriating money. Kingdom Hall thieves is really not funny. It's time to move on, get out of my people. Babylon the Great, no longer we sheeple, no longer pushing carts, littering streets, propaganda for the elite, a publishing company, a pyramid scheme, spinning your wheels, destroying your dreams. But now we know what's up, we see what's behind the curtain, not fooled by the lies, 7 frauds are working. Yeah. Losing my religion because it lost me. Don't want to lose my head because I gotta be sane to maintain my identity. So I keep waving the flag of victory. This wouldn't be complete without addressing those 6 pedophiles, steady molesting little boys and girls, precious silent lambs, destroying the soul in wicked men's hands. When will they learn? When will they stop it? Probably never. We hit them in the pocket, we hit them where it hurts, let Jah do the rest. They're gonna get their justice, that's why we do our best to be activists, not settle for the label. Apostates, they are king, we are able. Caution the serpent, innocence is doves. As the son said, we still show love, but don't get it twisted, we ready to fight. Just hear the battle cry, activists unite. Yeah, yeah. Losing my religion because it lost me. Don't want to lose my head because I gotta be sane to maintain my identity. So I keep waving the flag of victory. This one goes out to all those who suffered at the hands of Watchtower. All those in the struggle. One time for Facebook group XJW, Real Understanding for PTSD, anxiety, and depression.
All right, y'all. Hope y'all like that. What you think about my little song there?
I like it, Josh.
Okay. Thank you. So welcome to my show, Real Talk, Real Healing. And I'm so glad that you all stuck around for our inaugural show. This is my first time venturing out on my own. And I'm new to this, but I'm going to be true to this. This is something that I really been wanting to do. Be an activist, get the word out there, raise awareness about the Watchtower. But most of all, I just feel there's just no better way really exposing the Watchtower than for people that have been affected by this cult to really just express what they went through. And as far as I'm concerned, just the way I do things, again, it's already been stated, and I know everybody's on the same page, but I could care less what your religious persuasion is at this point, where your path is at this point. But no matter what, we all experience the same abuse. And so this is where we just get to flesh it all out. And so I've been able to meet such interesting, fascinating people through the Facebook group, XJW, Real Understanding for PTSD, Anxiety, and Depression. And they've been able to come on my show where I was at formerly. So I hope we could keep this going, keep the momentum going, and hopefully I'll be able to download these shows and put them in an archive so that people could see it. So you know what I forgot to do? Okay, so hopefully we have the show starting off. So we have with us today Wendy Tucker. She's from the Hen's Pen, and it's a very popular show that's geared towards helping women specifically spiritually. First and foremost, she does have a ministry that she does, but she reached out to me. As a matter of fact, she's the only person that has been doing this, that's been in the game, that's been doing this for a while, that's been in the XJW community as an activist that's known, that has a following, that actually reached out to help me. And so I'm very appreciative to have her with me. So, Wendy, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. I cut myself off earlier, so I'm going to stay away from that Apple phone because it's too smart for me. So,
okay.
Anyways, thank you for having me. I'm so excited, and it wasn't even like a thought. As soon as we connected, I knew the Lord just said, Wendy, this is what you've been wanting, to be able to know that there's a place that I can go to personally to vent, to talk about, not just Jesus because that's my life, but I need time also. I go to a therapist just like probably a lot of you, and so this is a wonderful opportunity that in the future I can be listening, and it'll help me as well because the therapist can only do so much. We as a body together, as a group, like you said, I don't care what your religion is. I don't care if you don't have a religion. I don't care if you're in the cult, out the cult. What I care about is what's hurting you and how can we help each other, and that's why I'm here.
Right, and we're so honored to have you here. And something I before I lose my train of thought, you had mentioned at the outset. Man, I lost my train. That's
okay. I do that a lot.
when you're at the controls and you're trying to make sure that everybody's in and everybody can hear. See that bell. Somebody else just come in. If you just came in, welcome. We're glad. We're glad to have you. So I think this was what I was going to mention. You mentioned, you go to a therapist, and you were saying that earlier that you were unapologetic that you go to get therapy. And there tends to be sometimes a stigma with getting professional help. There's a lot of witnesses, in my opinion, again, when it's something that I don't know as a statement of fact, I'll always say it's my opinion. But in my opinion, there's a lot of witnesses that I've met that have left the cult that say, they don't need a therapist, they don't need medication, they're well adjusted, they just need time, whatever, and they don't need help. But to me, a lot of times, you talk to them, well, how long have you been away from the cult? Oh, 20 years, 10 years, 30 years. And it's, they're in the XJW forum, so apparently it's still something that sticks with you and that affects you. So if you need that help, definitely get it. Another quick thing I'll just say, this is very therapeutic for myself. When I started my Facebook group, for those who just don't know me, I said, I started this Facebook group and I started, doing interviews online, but I'm the biggest patient. So that's why I was in such a rush to make sure that this network got up off the ground within a week's time, because I knew come Saturday, if I don't get to have this time to talk with my people, that I was going to be in big trouble. So I hope, Wendy, that, you're not a stranger to us here, and the fact that we have this forum, That'll give you a chance to break away from everything you're doing and
Amen.
not have to be a monitor. You don't have to be a moderator, and then you could
stress.
just be a participant, because I know your hands
Exactly.
are full over there. Okay,
no,
so
beyond full, but it works. We have the Holy Spirit, and you know me. I'm a born again Christian, so I mean, no offense to the non-Christians. I love you. I have a lot of non-Christian people who listen to my show. A lot of atheists that listen to my show. We preach the grace of Jesus, but we don't push it on you. We just give you the information you came for, and that's it. And actually, we do have a fellowship hour. First of all, let me just tell you where it is real quick. It's called The Hens Pen Show. I used to be on another network for 4 years. This last year, I've been on Blog Talk Radio. I was invited on. It was a very good move. I tried to have 2 at once, but it didn't work out. Anyways, you just go to blogtalkradio.com, and I am / Healing X Outreach is the channel. And then if you want, you can either just go to the whole website and pick through all the different shows. There's so many forums. Or you can go to / the-hens-pen-show. I also have a Hens Pen page on Facebook, too, where they can get information, just so you know. It's called The Hens Pen Show on Facebook.
And what I'm going to ask you to do for us, Wendy, if you could just, after everything's said and done, you could just post us some links in the JW Cult Free Network page. I believe you're on there, right? Yeah, go ahead and post that in there in case you didn't get to jot all that down.
Oh, absolutely. I got to give a number, too, so.
Right. So I'm just going to take a couple quick breaths here and just kind of forget that I'm the moderator if I can for a little bit and just get into my zone here and just really I want to take it back. If you could just take us back on a journey with whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm just going to ask you some specific questions. So, Wendy, how was it that you came into contact with the Jehovah's Witness organization, with the Watchtower?
I was adopted as an infant into a freshly baptized adoptive mother as a baby. I grew up in it.
Okay, so we have this term that I learned very quickly when I got into the XJW community, born in. So you were born.
Yeah,
so you would consider yourself
I was born in. I didn't want to say it. I was born in. Yes, I was born in.
Yeah, so you're born into the organization. And so how long from the time, so your whole life, at what age did you officially make a full official break?
Mentally, when I was 2009, I had a nervous breakdown. I physically have been in and out my entire life. I have gone back at least 3 times. The third time, I almost got baptized. I come from a family of an elder and a very staunch pioneer mother. And I have 4 siblings, 3 older brothers. I'm the only adopted child. I was adopted into a family of boys.
Oh, okay. So you're the only woman with all these men, huh?
Yeah. Well, I was the baby until my adoptive mother got pregnant, and then she had another son. But by the time that happened, I was already experiencing the backlash of what happened. I'm sure when the questions move on, we'll get to that.
Okay. All right. So let me just I had a senior moment. So you were born in, you left, you came back and forth about 3 times. And so if you don't mind me asking, what year was it that you finally, were officially not a witness?
Well, because I was an elder's daughter, see, what happens is that I rebelled at the age of 13. And being adopted into a Jamaican family, my father was very, very strict. And being an elder, he was even more strict. So I started rebelling because of the effects of what this cult, I don't like calling it a religion, but this cult had done over the years as far as, growing up being bullied. I was molested when I was 6 going on 7. I was molested several times. Once I was 13, I really started to rebel because I knew something was wrong, and my dad had started beating me because the elders had told him that beatings were the only way to get me to listen and to get Satan out, that Satan was in her. I was possessed. So
wow.
You have to understand, I went through where I ended up getting beat for 2 years. He locked me up in places. Then I was an avid runaway. It's a very ugly story, and I can only tell you that the state had to take me away forcibly after he beat me up so bad that he put me in the hospital. He broke my nose and messed me up pretty good at the age of 13. But I was in and out of foster care most of my life, and I was on the street, but I was emancipated when I was 17. So that's the gap. That's the problem with this question. It's kind of like I went back.
It's not a clear-cut and dry thing.
Right. And in my adulthood, I kind of went in and out because I wanted to stay close to my family, and my mom broke the rules, my mom and dad, after the fact. There was a huge gap, you have to understand, of 2 years where I never spoke to my mother. But my father, he was the one who adopted me, broke the rules. And, it's a long story there, but I can just tell you that I had an adult life for up until about I got born again. And then my dad had passed away from not taking blood, and that was a horrible time. That was
wow. No, this is I don't mean to cut you, but is this your biological father or the same father?
No, I was a product of prostitution. I don't know my mother or my father.
Oh, okay. So the father that died, this is the one you say that you had experienced the abuse from, if you don't mind me asking?
Yes, but the weird thing is, Josh, is that when I finally ran away from the last foster home from the state, I called him. And for some crazy reason, I don't know why I did, but I called him and I demanded a job because I wanted to go back to the shelter, but you had to have a job or go to school. And I know I wasn't going to school because I wasn't allowed to go to school for so long with my dad that I was intimidated by a classroom. And I got into a lot of fights, and it was not good. So I ended up working for the very man who beat me half to death, most of my teenage life, the years that I was there. But it's a weird story because I am writing it in a book because he flipped. And behind, unbeknownst to the elders and my mother, for 2 years, we had a secret relationship, and it turned the other way. And he raised me. And, I think the Christians will understand that I believe that he was used to keep me going until I finally, found my maker. But I worked for my dad, and I was emancipated when I was 17, and I had there was a lot of court battles going on with the state. They wanted to lock me up in another place, and I kept running away, and even the judge said, you're really good at what you do because we can never find you. I always turned myself in. But once I was emancipated, that's when I was able to start talking to my mother again. But the only stipulation was I was only allowed to come over to clean the house. I was the housekeeper incognito.
Okay, so you never got baptized.
No, but I was put on public reproof because back in those days, you got to remember, I was born in the 60s, and my mom was baptized in 1963. Yeah. And so I go back to the old Watchtower. I've seen the Watchtower change. So, I go back to the old Watchtower, and back then, especially an elder's daughter, could be. And I was put in the room, if you listen to my testimony, with 4 elders, not 3, because I was a runner, and I think they thought I was going to run to the door and book, but with my dad out there, I wasn't going to do that. But yeah, so I had went back formally to get baptized when I got married. My marriage was kind of started off really bad, and I talked my husband into going to studies, and so we tried. And for 6 months, I did it. And it was kind of like this congregation didn't really know about my family because we're going back a lot of years, Josh. I've been through a lot of Kingdom Halls. I've built many Kingdom Halls with my family. So, when you move, if you're fortunate enough and you move, you don't tell anybody, they can't find you. So that's how I lived my life because I was so wishy-washy. But when it finally came down and finally came down to it, and the brother said, Wendy, you have to get baptized now. This has been going on too long. And I refused. He flipped his lid. And that was the last straw for me. That's when I decided, okay, Jehovah, if you just let me live a decent life, you've been saving me out of, overdoses, rapings, molestations my whole life. Could you just make it a little easier on me till Armageddon, And that's kind of how I live my life.
Mm. So, just taking the whole Watchtower a component out of everything, out of your life, you've had some pretty big trials just dealing with life separate from being with the cult. I would think, right?
Yeah, and especially because back in the day, we had to stand up in in classrooms. You had to pledge of allegiance. You had a silent prayer time and all that. Where these days they don't do that. But back then it was rough because then I got put in the back of the class. I got picked on really bad up until 7th grade when I finally really turned, and then that's when I rebelled. I started fighting, and thank goodness my oldest brother, taught me how to fight. But that's when my life really started to change as a Jehovah's Witness girl, because my dad didn't want the elders to know that things were getting worse, so he sent me to the Grand Cayman Islands to live. Yeah, that worked like a charm. I just had more fun down there than I did here. Then He had me locked up. For 9 months, they had me locked up, and when they finally gave me school release to go to school, and then this was Sarasota, he shipped me all over the state. I ran again and forced him to come get me, and when I got home, that's when the real hell came out, because he started locking me in my room with the deadbolt. There was a deadbolt on my door. When I stupidly turned myself back into him, he locked me up in the house. So I wasn't allowed to go to school. I wasn't allowed to have friends. And my door was bolted shut. My windows were screwed shut because I used to sneak out. So he knew every trick that I had. So I lived a very dangerous life in a fire hazard, especially if I chose not to go to Kingdom Hall,
Wow.
Yeah, because the night that he beat me for the last time, I had told my brothers in the car I hated Jehovah, and I hate them, and I hate my life. And I loved Satan, and I belonged to Satan. And, I started doing things. I was wigging out because I didn't get counseling. The one time they took me in for counseling to a psychiatrist, I remember it as yesterday because I can remember the couch that I broke because I popped the button. And I was sitting there picking at this poor psychiatrist's leather couch, and I popped the button. And he goes, "What is your biggest problem with your family?" And I told him, "I hate Jehovah. I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness. I want to be like a normal kid." That was the last time I ever saw a counselor. And they would have gotten in a lot of trouble for that because, Josh, back in those days, not only did you not go get help, but you didn't, I'm sure, I don't know how long your mom's been in, but the sports thing, the education thing, the marriage thing, it was all in full force. The Watchtower today, to me, is completely different.
Well, I'm 4 years old. I was raised in it my whole life, and even in my life, like in the 80s, I would say,
yeah,
I noticed I noticed a big difference between the 80s and the 90s, and then from the 90s definitely till now. The Watchtower, just not to get off topic because it's about you. It's just on my, this interview about you. I just want to just say something. Wendy, I've only been away like 4 or 5 months, and this religion is a totally different religion than what it was 6 months ago.
Yeah, and it'll keep changing. One of my expertise is research, and I got to tell you, what's going on now, the real deal is if the witnesses just could only see behind that wall, their jaws would hit the ground so hard because the society is doing things right now that even the witnesses don't know. And they find out, like unable to get this through different outlets. And the things that I'm hearing is going to bring the suicide rate up significantly. If there's any way to watch it, I wish, but we'll see it grow by the end of the year. Before January 1st, there will be a lot more suicides. I promise you that. And I hate saying that because I don't want it.
And that is a very, very, very up close and personal, passionate thing about subject, the suicide, and I want to talk about that some more later because I really feel that I was so close to becoming one of those statistics. As a matter of fact, I know it, and my mom's listening, and she saw it, and I think I got out of Watchtower cult. You know, and you know, a lot of people don't like to call it cult. I'm just for me. I'm not trying to just say this because it happens to be my show and I just have the floor right now. But I'm totally with you. I don't even like dignifying them with name, religion. You know. And I'm not going to start Watchtower bashing, but that's just that's just where I'm at right now with my pain. But you know, my goal is to help, and I do care deeply for Jehovah's Witnesses. But so back to what you're saying, you mentioned something interesting about adult life, teenage life. You know, we have these terms like double life. Mm-hmm. You know, so. I something you said resonated with me. You were like this latchkey kid. You were kind of confined. You used terms like that you were emancipated. A question for you, you know, since you've been doing this a little bit longer than me. Me growing up, and my mom was just trying to do the best she could with what she had, and I understand that deeply now, and I don't have any animosity towards her for the way she raised me, because I did come away with it's because of the way she raised me is who I am now. But she's dealing with the guilt that she pushed this religion so deeply into me, you know. But you know, growing up, one of the things I dealt with was I felt like I had no real communication with the outside world. Like I felt like I was in a separate reality. The whole no sports, no, association at school, no, and then even before I did anything bad, I was labeled a bad association at school. So I just felt like I was literally going insane inside my head. Is what I'm saying making any sense?
Absolutely. That's why I snapped. I mean, up until 12, I did what I was told. I remember when the
Lie book?
The Great Teacher, the Great Teacher book, the little pink one, Listening to the Great Teacher.
Right.
I remember getting that, and I think I had just learned how to read, because I remember my mom, it was nighttime, she shoved it in my hand, she said, now go in your room and read this, because we're going to be studying it together. And I'm like, okay, Ma. I did everything I was supposed to do, and, growing up adopted was another issue, because I don't look like my family. And so I always had a problem saying, why don't I look like you, and why don't I have the traits? I always felt different to begin with. But something you just said resonated with me. My father, see, the one detail that it's frustrating, because in my testimony I stop at, where I am now. I don't go into my father as far as how it ended. When I was 20 years old, after working for my dad for over 10 years, 21, 22, I'm sorry, he apologized to me. He actually admitted to me on the phone, because he found out I was trying to find out my lineage. And I didn't want to believe the story my mother told me about my mom being a prostitute, my dad being a serviceman, and there I am. I didn't want to accept that. That was too shameful for me. So I wanted to find out the truth. And when my dad had called me and I had asked him, he knew. It was almost like he knew, and he dove in, and he said, the first thing he said to me after he started crying was, I'm sorry. And I was in shock, because I was like, how did this go from talking about my real mother to saying I'm sorry? And he told me a story that I won't get into now. We don't have time, but he told me the truth. And I was able to accept it, and I have forgiven my father. I don't care what he did to me. He never molested me. He never, did certain things to me, but he did enough to me, beating me and, breaking my nose and bashing my head in and, beating me with wires and beating me with buckles. I mean, I've been beat with everything but a bat. I was, somebody spread a rumor I was hit with a bat, and I wasn't. But what I'm trying to say is that my father, like you said earlier, my mom and dad, I can look back now and I can see that they did the best they could, considering, one, they were immigrants to this country. Two, my father was very successful as an immigrant in the business. And a sister earlier was talking to you about how they wouldn't allow her in on the phone line because they said they were paying for it. Well, let me tell you something. I firmly believe, Josh, and I don't know if you believe this, depending on what you give is how you are treated, because my family is very wealthy. And my mother, I remember going there every week to clean, even after my dad died from a no blood transfusion. having to listen to the Kingdom Hall while I cleaned the house because she'd be sitting there with blasting. And I'd have to, like, put a headset on because I thought I was going to throw up. Now, remember, I, at a very young age, physically was taken away from this family and from this religion. I'll call it for the respect of my brothers and sisters because I love the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'm not bashing them, and I never will. And I get a bad rap for that. I don't do that. But I want to tell you that that sister, she needs to know the check is what determines who you are in a Kingdom Hall, and I know that for a fact because my father gave a lot of money. He carried those Kingdom Halls, especially during the times where the gas, where we had that gas shortage and all that stuff.
Back in the 80s, the gas shortage in the 80s.
In the 70s we had one. No, in the early 70s.
Yeah, when Carter was in office, right? Jimmy Carter.
Yes,
okay.
And I'll never forget that because my dad, I remember him having to work on a Sunday on his own business because he had to keep the Kingdom Hall during the week done so that his crew wasn't there during the meetings. You see? So my dad gave physically, financially. Now my family, I know for a fact they buy the religion off because my mother travels too much to be accepted as a pioneer anymore. You can't tell me that. And my brother is very, what happened to the, you're not supposed to college, you're not supposed to go to, have a lot of money, you're not supposed to be this, that. But when you're giving to this organization in the amounts that I know my family gives, you can get away with whatever you want. That's what we need to remember here.
Yeah, I learned that very, very recently, and even now as an ex-JW, I have some insights on that. There's a woman that I want to interview that worked a lot with the regional committee, and she does a lot of paralegal work, and the things she uncovered as far as how the Watchtower works with the deeds of their Kingdom Halls and who they entrust them in, and certain elders that have certain privileges, when they're called into question to certain things based on how much of the property they might own or what's in their name, they do get away with a lot more than what the rank and file does.
Oh yeah. So my dad had a landscape business, so he cut the grass. And then, the cleaning was easy. Our family, you're supposed to rotate. We never rotated. We were always on the list.
Wow.
My dad wanted to make a name for himself in every Kingdom Hall we were ever in. And up until the very last Kingdom Hall he was in where they rejected him because of his color, that's what caused him to step down as an elder. He was in a very prejudiced Kingdom Hall. He stepped down as an elder, and I know all my brothers split real early when they first got into that Kingdom Hall because they saw what was going on. So they all moved or said they were moving. And you know how you can, that was later. So we're going back maybe 20 years now. So, but now, I don't know if you know, there's no disfellowshipping. There's only this person is no longer a Jehovah's Witness.
Right, I experienced that firsthand.
Yeah. Okay, good. So then
that's what they said. That's what they said. But the shunning is just still the same.
Yeah.
The treatment is even worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worse for me now because my mother found out what I was up to 5 years ago when I met Marilyn Marsh, when she became my mentor, and I started, spending my days with her. And I got to tell you, shunning right now, the reason I'm appreciating you and your show and your mother and everybody that I want you guys to really know from the bottom of my heart, because I don't need airtime. I don't want to make a name for myself. I'm not here to be broadcasting for my show. I'm here because I have issues. And I use Jesus every day, all day long, to keep myself going. He is the only way for me. Maybe not for the next person, but for me. But being that I am of the flesh, we both know, any Christians out there know that of the flesh, it's different. Of the mind, the spirit, we're new. But in the flesh, I'm not. And so I have a lot of anger issues that I have to deal with. One day I wake up, with night, I have flashbacks I deal with. I'm on, when I was up in Mass, I was on a lot more meds. But now I'm down to 2 head meds and 1 nerve blocker because I have a plate in my neck. I almost was killed. Back in 2009, I was thrown 300 feet. A drunk driver hit me off the back of a motorcycle. And that, my brother, was the day that started the clock of me walking into this world that I'm in now, which is the best place I could ever be, because if that wreck hadn't happened, I would have went back to the Nationals as a bodybuilder, and who knows where my life would be now, because that was a life of isolation. Earlier when I spoke to you about an inward way, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is mostly recognized by soldiers, and I have a lot of friends that are that were in the military that have it, and that are in the military that have it newly. Inwardly means that I suffer from a very, very chronic depression of closing up. I can go days without water, days without food, days without seeing people. My anger can get so bad that I will have nightmares, and if I don't take the medicine that I'm on, I will hit the ceiling. Usually within 3-4 days, the panic attacks are so extreme that they can be dangerous for me, because I will run down the street begging God for air because I don't think I'm breathing. So I found a really good doctor years ago. When I came back, he took me on almost pro bono because he's a forensic psychiatrist. And when he heard my story, the girls were talking. I mean, those ladies earlier had just had me almost to tears like you, because they were saying things that are going on in my life right now. I am blessed to have us, and you can shut me up anytime if you got another question. I just want you to know that I'm blessed with a psychiatrist that years ago I had to pay a lot of money for. And when I came back, and he wanted to know more about, these cults, because when he first met me and he found out what happened, he says, "What's wrong with you? How could you believe one man this, one man that?" And I'm like, "Dude, I was born into it. You don't get it." And he didn't get it. Then years later, I go back to him, and he's got it now. Now I'm giving him a present. He doesn't know, but he had asked me for the Kingdom of Cults book, so I bought it because I got to keep mine, and I'm going to give it to him when I go back to see him. But, Josh, the stigma that you were talking about and what the ladies were saying earlier, I think that this is going to be that place where people are going to see that there is no more of a stigma against us than there is anybody else in the world with all the things going on. There's too many of us now that when you meet somebody that feels beaten down, the first thing I like to say to them is, "I'm suffering right now just like you. Even though I love Jesus and he blesses me every day, my flesh suffers every minute of the day." And now I have a place where, like earlier when I was listening and I was able to think it through, the things that were being said, and it helped. It helps. I still go to a psychiatrist once every 3 months because I have my own support group that I work with, the rest of the time. And this guy is $400 an hour, and he doesn't charge me most of the time.
Wow.
So, yeah, because he'll say, "You're my goodwill thing," and now I'm learning more about this cult. And he actually sent a lady who was a Christian Science bred person who's running from them, who I had to help for a little while, but I couldn't because she was too far gone from me. So,
right.
There's a lot going on. Like you said earlier, what did you say? You said outside of other cults, what'd you say about there's more people, I think, that are being punished by PTSD and mental depression, chronic depression, delayed depression, whatever you have, in cults. You said it right, than there is in the military. You said it right, as of this moment. As of this moment. But we don't know how many people have killed themselves and it's been covered up, or I've attempted suicide twice. The first time I drew blood. And, I talk to people, people will call me and say, "I don't want to live anymore. I want to die. Can you, why should I live, Wendy? I listen to you and you always say we have reason, but I don't. My life isn't peachy sweet like yours." That's when I have to tell them my life. Then they're like, "Oh, gosh, I'm sorry." Because I don't have it easy now or then.
Right.
But I have, you have people now. Jehovah's Witnesses need to understand that when they come out, they need to vent, true, but not swirling around and around in the same thing. You need to be able to listen to other people as well as speak. And listening to people, for me now, instead of being at the forefront on my show, has helped me enormously. Like I said, I'm down to 2 meds now, and his goal is to get me down to 1, the one that keeps me from hitting the ceiling at 3 a.m.
Wow. Yeah, definitely can relate to that. Let me ask you
if
this.
you're on meds right now, don't feel bad about it, people. You need those meds. Your flesh people, is not healed. It's going to take years. But as long as you come to a place like this and you talk and listen, listening helps more than talking sometimes. Because, like I was just chatting with a woman, ironically, while you were talking, the woman that I sent to listen to your show sent me a woman that needs somebody to talk to because she's been raped and molested most of her life, and she needs help. And she's been out for 20 years.
Right.
I meet more people that have been out over 10 years than I have people that have just left, ironically. And they're more messed up, I think, than the other people because they haven't had the support in so long that when they finally find it, I mean, I kid you not, people, when I go visit people, they fall to my feet, and I'm like, yo, I'm like, Peter, get up, man, what the heck? I'm not a rock star. I just came here to talk to you. You want to talk? Talk. You're the rock star. You have the floor tonight. So that's what helps me, is listening.
Yeah, this show or doing these shows, whatever, and I'm sure you can relate. I had this drive that I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what am I going to do if I don't have the show, if I can't keep doing my show, because it is a form of therapy for me and listening to people. I ran into a problem, and I don't know if you can relate to this, where, I tried to go to a therapist, and I know you've heard this a million times before, and I've heard other people say it before. You go to the therapist, and the therapist has no idea about how to treat a person that's involved with the cult.
Yep.
Or the therapist thinks, the Jehovah's Witnesses are great people. They are great people. But it's just the religion and the ideology I take issue with. And, I went to see these therapists, and I went to see, psychiatrists, and I am on a ton of meds myself. And it's just like I felt like I was educating them. So I felt like I was a guinea pig training them. Like I'm there to train you how to deal with people with cults that deal with cults, or people that deal with how to handle Jehovah's Witnesses. And they're like, this is so fascinating. And they're asking me all these questions, and then they're saying, so what does this mean? And how do I help my sister-in-law who's, blah, 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 doesn't want to, and we know this stuff upside down, inside out, but it's like, am I just a case study? And I know, you're still getting the help, whatever, but, you may have to, like, shop around to find the right type of therapist or whatever, preferably. But, that's why, and I'm wondering, and I'm going to let you, talk about, give your answer to this, but I feel that it's important, and I'm glad you're getting the help you need, and I'm glad you're not afraid. I mean, you're not ashamed of
I'm proud.
Getting a professional.
I'm
proud.
You're proud.
Yeah, and I'm proud of it too. And that way you could be of better use to other people with your ministry. Because to me, and I know that sounds like a religiously type word. All ministry means is to serve. And I want to serve.
Amen.
And I want to be able to. I think it's really important. We need more XJWs to be certified counselors, to get that psychiatry degree or therapist degree. That's a goal I have, because then the XJW community will be better equipped to be able to heal or help an underserved community, because we have serious issues that need to be dealt with and addressed. We need help. And, what better than, you don't have to have a degree to help somebody or to help somebody heal, but, I just think, and I'm seeing it. I'm seeing all these people writing books. I'm seeing all these people saying that they're going to school, so what's your thoughts on that? I mean, about what I just said about the SJW community needing people to really get trained to be able to deal with all the people that are dealing with these mental disorders.
Well, let me address the guinea pig thing, because that's kind of a blessing on my part. Guinea pig for me is my psychiatrist, which I only see him once a month or once every 3 months, and he's mostly to monitor my meds. I had went to a psychologist when I was up north the last 2 years of my horrible life it was, but it was a testimony in itself, and a lot of good things happened. I saw a therapist twice a week up there because Massachusetts Health is awesome. And
it is. I used to work for a company based in Massachusetts. I didn't realize I had such great coverage.
I wish I could go back for that, but that's just not the place for me. But the thing is that, okay, I want to make sure I don't forget the question.
The guinea
being
pig
a guinea pig being a guiney pig for me has been a blessing because the thing is, when I went up there, granted, they put me on a lot more meds. I mean, I was on Adderall, I was on Wellbutrin, I was on Xanax, I was on my pain, not painkiller. I refuse to take those. What do you call it? I'll think of it in a minute. It's not an adult. It's a nerve blocker. Sorry. And then and it's like when I came home and he read why they put me on that, he says, "Man, your numbers were astronomical." He goes, and then I had to explain what happened to me up there. And the thing is that I was blessed, I guess, because I didn't think he'd want to help me, and I didn't go to him right away. I tried to get help from the state down here, and they almost caused me to relapse. In fact, I did I will admit that I had an issue when I came back because of what they did to me, and it took me about a week to get out of the funk, and thank goodness my surrounding support group helped me, because coming from being cared for to being treated like dirt by the health department and all these people that are supposed to help me made me feel like, oh boy, now I'm going to be back the way I was, and I'm going to be a wreck all the time, shaking like a leaf, memory loss, high anxiety. I mean, you name it, it's there. But this doctor, I was blessed enough to find him and go back to him, and he wanted to help me because now I talked to him about my outreach, and he's learning a lot like you. So when you go see a doctor, I think any person that goes to see a therapist, before you see one, ask if they've ever helped a Jehovah's Witness out. And then the thing is that they will be good for medicine and they will be good to talk to, but I'll be honest with you, I've gotten further ahead, and he sees it, which is why he no longer says, I don't want you doing that anymore. It brings up too many memories. Because I had a problem in the beginning with flashbacks that were so intense the medicine wasn't working because I was talking about this stuff all the time. But I needed to get over that hump. So while you're looking for a doctor and you ask around, and it's best to ask people get references, these sites are going to be the ones where, like I said earlier about listening, where you're going to have people call in, and you may have some suicide, people come in that want to commit suicide. Or
we've already experienced that in my group. I didn't mean to cut you. I've already experienced that. Yeah, there's been like three. There's been like 3 people in the PTSD group that told me that being on the site and talking to people, and they thanked me. They said that stopped them from committing suicide.
Yes. You know what? I talked to this lady on the chat a little while ago. She can't call because she doesn't have a phone long distance, but when she gets it, she will. I will try to work out a 3-way next week so she can listen on a 3-way line. This is a woman who said just what you said. She had no friends. Who calls me the most is men. See, something you said earlier is kind of been changed. Penn's Pen is no longer geared towards women. That was years ago when I first started it. And it didn't work out because women were afraid to talk. It took men to get the women in, But, the Hen's Pen's been changed so many times. I've changed it around so many times. Or I haven't. The Lord has. I've done nothing. I wake up and there's a new change in my mind, and then it matches pastors, and then we're like, let's go for it, and bam, it works. But the thing that I find the most is I get to do the interviews because I don't do the messages anymore because I have all these hosts that do it, and I want them to do it because each of them has a different meal to bring to the table. But in the end, even if they're talking about their life or anything like that, the ones that do get help do fare out better because the men that I talk to, a man that I talked to tonight before I called you, I've been talking to him for a year now. And I have a lot of problems with him because he has serious mental issues and he's not taking meds. And I'm probably the only one left that will deal with him because he has a screaming problem, a cursing problem, and I've been able to quiet him down, but it's really difficult because sometimes it does bring me down, and that's hard. Yeah. So I have to turn around and go back to my group and say, woof, this guy just really put me in a place I don't want to be and get help, but I won't give up. And that's the thing. You can't give up. So now that you've started this, you're on your way. I know that this is going to take off because this has been needed for a while. I can't do it on Henspen because of what we do. I do it on the side. Now I can send people here. We can talk here. We need to talk about not just the lack of love, but the loneliness that you feel when you come out, not having friends, because these are men who were in Bethel. They got kicked out or told to go home. They have no family, or their family is broke because they haven't lived with them, and they have no education. The one that I'm dealing with now lives with his mother. He's my age. I'm 48 years old. Okay, I think he's a year younger than me. Still lives with his mother. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that's what happens when your whole life has been dedicated to pleasing an organization instead of learning something. The sister talked earlier about children. And I have one. I collect Watchtower material. I have stuff going back 100 years. I was blessed with that for a reason. I know it was a gift given to me to do this, what I do. And I find books that say, in the first chapter, one of the family books, it says, we believe that children should be able to blossom in their own personalities as Jehovah's Witnesses. I about threw up when I read that. I'm like, what?
Hello? Hello. Something happened. Just stay tuned. She'll probably need to call back in. Are you there? Okay, I'm going to send her a message on Facebook. Is anybody else out there hearing us?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
just stand by.
I am.
I guess I got booted. Did I get
Oh,
booted?
you there? No.
Yeah, I got
You
booted.
there?
Yeah, I'm there.
I don't know what happened. I didn't boot you, and I'm at the controls.
No, I know what happened. It's not you. That's going to happen. Just so you know, Josh, that's the network. You cannot help it. And I wasn't listening to the lady, and she said, press the star. And I'm like, oops, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. Anyways, I'm back. So anyways, to shorten this up kind of for you, because I'm sure you have other questions, I really am hoping that coming here will help people want to go seek therapy. And like the other sister said earlier, these doctors, a lot of them don't know how to deal with Jehovah's Witnesses, so they need to find a cult therapist. They are out there. However, you will mostly find them in churches. And that's another, hill to climb, the right one. I was blessed, again, with the right one, and I worked with this woman for 6 weeks. And she really helped me out, not only with PTSD, but being able to have the self-confidence that I need as a human being, as a woman, because I'm worth more than the Watchtower Society ever thought I was. My family ever thought I was. To this day, I have one disfellowship brother who was disfellowship because he refused to accept counseling on his marriage. He's a great guy. My family won't talk to him. I talk to him. And then I have a deceased father who died because he refused blood, and then they changed the blood policy not too long after that, just so you know. And then I have 3 other brothers who will have absolutely nothing to do with me. I am the scum of the earth. So I live with the fact that I love my family. I want to be a part of my family, but they think I'm scum, and that hurts because I love them, and I will always love them, but I need them, and they're not there for me. So now, thank goodness, I have an even bigger family, and even though it's not really the same in a certain sense, it's almost better in another, because now I can let all the walls down and I can open myself up, and that's something I'm seeing people do when I allow them to speak and just say anything. It doesn't even matter if it's the topic, just what is on your mind. We have a fellowship hour from 6 to 7. It's actually 5:55 because if you call at 6, you won't get in. And it ends after the show ends. And the fellowship hour has been really great because we've been talking about just everyday life and how it affects us as witnesses who don't have an education, don't have a good job, don't have a lot of friends, and are still living around where we were either, disfellowship years ago, or we are now no longer Jehovah's Witnesses and we will shun you. And
yeah, Wendy, even before I lose my thought, the only reason I'm interrupting before I lose my thought
I do the same thing. That's okay.
It's just something to say, and I'm going to take you had mentioned to me in a personal chat to take notes. I'm going to start doing that.
I have a lot on your show, actually, but we're not going to have time to go through it. I'll do it when I see you again.
But it's something it's just amazing. You have to, it's one thing to leave the organization and to walk away from it, but, they still got you. They can still have you mentally. There's this fellowship people in my family that are shunning me, even though the Watchtower is shunning them and the family's shunning them. They're shunning me because I'm an apostate. So the Watchtower, even when they throw you away, they're still in your head. They could still you could still be enslaved. And that's why the people I imagine, it makes sense why they kill themselves, because that feeling of just utter worthlessness.
Josh, when I was 8 months pregnant, and I was cleaning my family's home still. Nobody knew in the Kingdom Hall except for a few choice people. And one of those choice people came over one day, and I'm 8 months pregnant cleaning my mother's house because that's the only way that I could be a part of this family. And really, it wasn't a part. It was just being there. I felt I needed that, I remember this sister telling me, and she knew me my whole life. I was her flower girl when she got married when I was a little girl. She looked at me and says, you better be more concerned about saving that baby than yourself. You need to get back to Jehovah. And I just looked at her, because she says, your baby is going to be destroyed at Armageddon. And I wanted to, punch her lights out, I was kind of like that kind of a person in those days, I'm lucky I was pregnant because I probably would have. But I was in shock. And it put fear in me for the rest of the day. Now, granted, something I didn't mention earlier was I wasn't diagnosed with PTSD until I was in my 40s, my early 40s. I'm 48 now. I was diagnosed in 2009. And it explains a lifetime of consistent abuse. It expands a lifetime of making the wrong decision based on the fact that I knew I was trash and I was going to die at Armageddon. So, these sisters talking, there's more than just the Kingdom Hall, to talk about the lack of love. There's also the foreign feeling you have once you're kicked out. Like you said, once you're out and you're walking around, you don't know how to be in the world.
No,
I was blessed because I did, but these sisters don't know how to be in the world. And that's why they're committing suicide, because one, their husbands are leaving them or being told to divorce them because, that's what happens now. They literally tell you, divorce your husband, it's okay, or divorce your wife, it's okay because they're not good. You can't, what did they tell the sisters recently, Josh? Don't marry any brother unless he's
unless he's a ministerial servant. I thought I was there in the audience when Tony Morris said that, and I almost fell back in my chair.
Well, you really are.
I was. Yeah, I was right there in Jersey, I believe it was, at the Assembly Hall, and I was like, I was a servant, and that was a big pet peeve of mine because I was a servant for quite a few years. I could have been an elder, but I was always a big mouth. I would see things in the congregation, and I would always speak up, and they were like, well, you're not an elder, and you're always trying to counsel the elders and stuff like that. But that was a big pet peeve of mine when I was a servant, because here I was a servant, and, well, I'm not, that's just, I don't want to even really go there, but as a servant, it wasn't like I had that many great options of sisters to get married.
You didn't have any choice. The Sunshine Girl will tell you that. Her Kingdom Hall was full of ugly men.
But it wasn't even so much the physical thing, because I dated a lot of sisters. I dated a lot of sisters, man, but these sisters had a lot of issues. They had a lot of issues. And then, so I didn't get married until I was not a servant. I got married when I was not a servant, and my wife, she's very passionate about this. She dated a Bethelite who cheated on her, did all kind of stuff, led her on, broke her heart. But behind that, he got kicked out of Bethel behind what he did to my wife. So she had like a loathing, so she wasn't impressed with position or whatever. But it's just a sick, twisted thing. fascinating. There's so much. I'm sure. I feel like I'm talking to my twin.
Yeah.
You know, because I suffer from PTSD, anxiety, and depression, like you. That's why I named the group that. We could compare meds later on offline. What I usually have liked to have done.
I you the one pill I take. It's scary.
Oh wow. What I usually like to do though, in my interviews, a lot of times I ask questions like, what was it that that kept you in so long? What were some of the positive things? What was it that you liked about the organization? And then I would ask, when did you see the red flags? And then I go on and say, what was that ultimately the last straw?
2009 or 10. 10.
2010.
10 is when I turned on the computer to go back to Jehovah for the umpteenth million time, because I heard they had an internet thing. So I thought, wow, I could go study behind my mom's back, get back in, go to an assembly where they're at, get baptized, and I'll be back in their graces for real this time. It'll really work this time. Yeah, right. I turn on the computer, I press Jehovah, and what thing happened? Everything
child
but
abuse.
Everything but, and it took me a week. I didn't shower. I didn't do anything. Don't mean to gross you out. I was sick for a week because my whole life was a waste, I thought. And then when I went through that, that's what I found.
Right.
Todd Ellis and everybody. Yeah. But
yeah.
The first week.
That process. I was the same way. Not showering, glued to the screen, making yourself sick. That's like when I don't know if you heard my mom talking about like, oh yeah, Josh was messing with the Illuminati and he was going crazy. And he had to get institutionalized. It was just like information overload, and it was just too much for me to take. So what? But the second part of what I said, what I usually like to do is, I like to try to ask my guests, and what I'm going to do, you can answer that as we open it up, because I'm already past my time, and it's a half hour left before the next show. But, maybe you could just tell us really quickly, what are some of the things that you've been able to do now that you're gone from the organization? I know you touched on a lot of things you do to help people, but what type of successes have you had? And what have you been able to accomplish in your life, being a non-JW? I know you're a born-again Christian now, but what are some of the things that you've been able to do? How have you been able to overcome and still have a happy, productive life despite all these challenges that you and I face, with the mental illness?
Well, you see, it's a twofold answer, because you have to understand, I am a born-again Christian, and my life for me and to the people who don't believe, that is okay. I have a lot of non-believing friends. However, Josh, until I accepted Christ in a real way, I'm not into religion, you know that. I walk around repulsed at religion, and I am one of those people. I've already researched the Illuminati. I know all about that. I'm an avid researcher of the occult, brainwashing. I'm halfway through a book that we're all reading on the show, so we can share it, because it's a very good book from a Messianic rabbi. But the thing is that the only way that I've been able to overcome this is take it on head on by living a life that prevents me from being exposed to negativity. My friend, my full circle, which they're not all Christians, but they are all positive people who are interested in my lifestyle, because people have seen me go from being a really tough bodybuilder, a fitness instructor for 27 years, a bodybuilder for 10 years, like I was a competitor, the whole 9 yards. People were afraid. Men were afraid of me because I was so angry. I took out on that. But coming out, I was able to do a lot of things. But until I gave up the things that brought me right back to where I was, which is the wrong people, the wrong places, and for me, being exposed to, people who believed in having their Lord and Savior as their you give yourself to Him, and that's it. I don't belong to a religion. My church is non-denominational. I don't go all the time. I read the Bible and the Bible only, along with, of course, Pastor Dan's books, because they're all just Bible books that tell you what part of the Bible this is and that is, and they hit the subjects head on. So I am able now. I mean, that's really a hard question, because I wasn't freed until 6 years ago. mentally. So I was still exposing my life to doing whatever I wanted. But now, even if that accident happened, if I had been exposed to Christ, I would have gave up bodybuilding. But it took a life-changing moment for me to say to myself, you know what, there's got to be something better out there. And I thought, well, Jehovah's going to be the way. And then that's when I went in. So it's kind of hard for me to answer that question because I've really stumbled a lot over the years, but I've only survived, and I know now, because I was saved before I even was born. You know, if you would have told me 7 years ago that I'd be doing what I do now, I'd punch you in the face. That's how much I hated God, and I punched a lot of people. I was a nasty person when you pissed me off because I was so full of rage from being beaten to death half my life, not just by my father, but raped by bikers, beaten up, gang rape, beaten. I mean, you could name it. I've been there, and it doesn't even affect me anymore because now I am able to use all of that dirty mud and make this beautiful thing called a relationship with Jesus, who now has taught me how to be loving to people and forgive people who have wronged me. Even in the past 6 months, I'm still being attacked by people. But you know what? I pray for them. I love them. And that's what keeps me going. I'm free to use my mind to be able to succeed and to be able to make choices. And now I make the right choices.
Let me ask you a question, too, interestingly enough. And guys and gals, if you can look at her profile, I saw a little bit, you know, got some very interesting pictures with the bikes and the bodybuilding and the fitness.
Hey, I live my life, y'all. I don't care how far I was thrown. I live my life. I do.
Yes, hi.
Hello?
We're about to open up the lines for questions in a minute. We're just wrapping up. Just hold on. Just hold on there, sister. So Wendy, so you're doing the bodybuilding, you're doing the fitness still and all that, right?
No. I was in a really bad wreck in 2009 before I got saved. Ironically, I crashed in front of the church that I would later be saved in. I didn't even realize that until years later. But no, I was teaching. I retired 2.5 years ago. I'm suffering from chronic pain, unfortunately, at 48.
Because I saw some pictures that looked like you were still. I saw some pictures that looked like you were.
Hey, look, I go brag a little. At 48, I can get it a little bit. I just don't let you see the back end. I let you see the front end. I know how to pose, bro. Okay. So don't you go there.
All right, so I'm going to have all the guys going straight to your page. So listen,
look, if you saw my bodybuilding pictures, you know, that is a different person. I'm sorry. I've never posted a bodybuilding picture in my life, and I never will. If you want to see them, you got to go find them yourself. They're out there. Trust me.
Okay. All right, so to everybody on the listening in, now's your chance. If you have any questions you have for her, or you just want to say hi, or give some support, please do. Let's give some support for Wendy for sharing.
I need you guys tonight. How's that? Help me with my anger.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
ma'am.
Go ahead.
Oh, my God. Wendy, I think you took everything that you said. This is Angela, by the way. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Hi, I was listening to you earlier. Hi.
Oh, my God. When I heard you talking, it's like I have to get a hold of this woman because you know what? Listening to you, you're scaring the hell out of me, and don't take this wrong. I have a 32-year-old daughter that I am so scared of losing right now because she is going through everything that you've been talking about, and it's like right now she's begging me for help, and it's like, David, this is life-saving, and I have to tell you, everybody.
Well, I'll
gladly
give out my number. I'll give you my number. I don't have any qualms about my name and my number being out publicly. I'm out there.
Please post it. Yeah.
It's my number, you guys, is 561 is the area code 676-0229, and I'm also on Facebook, Wendy Lee Tucker, and I'm also Casey Jones, CASEYJONES. The number 4 and the word ever at yahoo.com. That's Casey Jones Forever, my horse. I used to raise horses too. And I didn't even talk about the drug abuse. Sister.
I know there's so much. We're gonna probably need 2 to 3 more interviews.
Just go listen.
Wait a minute.
To the
before you go. Wait a minute.
I'm not going. I'm gonna stay here all night.
on Facebook? What is it again, Wendy, on Facebook?
It's Wendy. I have it actually on. I've got different pages on. I'm doing a little extra work tonight. Yeah, it's called. What am I called? Wendy Lee Tucker. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And I think somebody just Patricia Mingley just asked. Okay, I don't know if that's you. Yes, Wendy Lee Tucker. Also, real quick, you guys, if you go to on Sundays, every Sunday at 4:00. If you are a non-Christian and you don't want to hear Jesus, then I'm sorry. 4 to 6 is. We preach, but we do it in a very non-pushy way. We just give out information about ourselves, and then we kind of put it together with the Bible and or subjects. We also have a newscaster that doesn't preach. She just talks about the JW world and the world itself. But it's at www.blogtalkradio.com. And if you go there, there's also a call-in number, which I'm so embarrassed I don't know by heart because my memory stinks from the gabapentin.
But we'll post it in the group. We'll post it in the group.
Yeah,
post everything.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I should have did all
that's
that.
okay.
Hello?
Post
Hello?
everything.
So if you want to
Hello?
talk to me, I'd love to.
Hello?
Well,
Yes,
Wendy, hello?
yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I have a gentleman online who just messaged me. He has a message for you. Is it okay to read it out loud to you right now?
Yes.
All right, hold one moment because I don't want to hang up anybody. Hold one moment. His name is Stanley. He thought it was me, so I had to clear him up. Nope, it's not me. Because of your background,
Yes.
I don't want him to get confused because I don't have those kind of credentials. He sent me a friend's request. Now, he didn't clarify the. Okay, yes, he did. He knows it's you. Okay, I'm listening to you right now, and I got to wondering about something. When I went to a psychiatrist, I was diagnosed with codependency. He was thinking of my mom, who was abusive, though not a witness. But after reading a book he gave me, it hit me that I was in a codependent relationship with an organization of all things. That proved to be a key for me when it came time to leave. Have you ever heard the matter posed in those terms?
Yes. In fact, we talk about that a lot, not in those words that you used, but here's the thing. You, not only the codependency inheritance from your mother, the way you were raised and what you saw, but in the organization, we are codependent on the Kingdom Hall, on the elders, on the brothers and sisters. In my testimony, the first thing I say is, I couldn't wait to get here to see what an apostate looked like. Because, as witnesses, we were so isolated that we thought they were like Martians or something. And we only had the people in the congregation that we were put in to rely on as friends. So if you weren't in the right clique or even got into a clique, you were a very lonely person. And I hear a lot of interviews about people telling me that they go to a congregation and nobody talks to them because either they're black or they're Spanish or they're non-white or whatever.
Raise my hand right here. I'm one of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
excuse me, Wendy. Excuse me, Wendy. I'm directing him to your Facebook page so you can answer him directly because he's not hearing any of this. He's not on the show.
Okay, wait a minute. There he is. Hello, I'm listening now. Okay, yeah. Okay, hi.
Is he there now? Okay, good. Okay, good, great.
Yes.
All right. Anybody else? Anybody else want to say hi to Wendy? If you have something to say to Wendy, say hi. Show us some support for sharing with us.
You can ask me anything, you guys. I'm not
shy.
Hi,
Wendy.
And I'm here to help you. Hi.
Hi, this is Olivia again.
Hi.
I heard you talk about when you were pregnant, 8 months pregnant. Did your child go into, I call it the organization. How did you protect your child?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because I was able to protect him until he was about 12. I was in a really one of many abusive relationships, and I had to get out. The guy was going to kill me. And so I reluctantly called my mom and said, Mom, could my son stay with you just for a couple of months till I get myself together? I didn't realize how hard it was going to be. And that was the first time he was exposed, and he had to go to the Kingdom Hall, okay, a lot, because, 5 meetings a week,
Right.
and my brother took him under his wing. Well, when I brought him home, he was so upset. In fact, I went and got him sooner than I could afford to because he was like, Mom, please, I can't handle it. And it turned him into an atheist. Up until 2 years ago, 2012. And what happened was when I became a Christian, he got in my face one night because I was talking to him, and he said, don't preach to me about your Jesus. I didn't like your Jehovah and your – you remember in the book, you guys, the Revelation book, where it shows the cracks of the earth and the fireballs like the sister described, like you described earlier, Mom described earlier? That picture resonated with my son. He goes, Mom, I don't believe that. I saw those people falling in the cracks. You keep your Jesus to yourself and your Jehovah and your everything. I didn't deal with that. I'm not dealing with you. And up until, 2 years ago, that's what I dealt with. And I never preached a word to him. I only prayed. And the next year I know he wanted to get saved. And it was because of my example that I can say that. But I got to tell you, the cracks in that book has messed up a lot of children. My kid's not even a witness. And that page with those people falling in the cracks, running from the fireballs, and then you've got those Jehovah's Witnesses smiling of all different nations because they're not a part of what's happening behind them. That messed my kid up big time.
Yeah, and that's what they used to teach at the hall. You were you were protected. You were under Jehovah's Christ, but the other people, they were, they didn't say the words exactly, but you knew what they were saying. Yeah,
well, those pictures are disgusting, and that just goes to show the intense brainwashing that is used to condition not only the adults but the children, because growing up, I always had that fear of, boy, if I don't be a good Jehovah's Witness, I'm going to fall in those cracks. I mean, they say the artwork in those books, to me, are X-rated when it comes to the mind of little children. They shouldn't have to feel
right. You're absolutely right.
Wendy, you sound just like my son. He used to say the same thing. I'm going to ban him anyway. That's what he used to say.
You know what's going to happen? I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
No. You have almost the same thought patterns.
You know what's going to happen?
You're kind of muffled, Mom.
Mom, I want you to hear this. There's going to be a need for a network of people that are going to have to help parents that are coming out of this organization with their kids. Because their kids are so fried that they don't know how to live, and some of them will not come out. Like I have a sister whose son refuses to leave, and Jehovah's Witnesses pick him up.
Oh.
He won't leave. His mother left. He won't leave. I have another sister whose husband is an elder. He won't leave, but she left. And these people are depressed. And imagine a child nowadays with what's going on. I mean, it's really bad. And these kids, to me, it's child abuse. To me, the state has not done enough. The country hasn't done enough, but we know why. They own the Watch Tower. I mean, we're dealing with the Illuminati. We're dealing with powers, you guys.
For bringing that out.
We're not talking about Bethel.
They own all the armaments, practically.
They own every religion in the world. They own the Jews. They own the Muslims. They own the Catholics. I'm sorry if you disagree. It's okay. You have a right to, but I study this almost daily, and I got to tell you something, you guys. The entity that runs all of it is like sitting up there, almost. I'd like to use a picture, a mind picture. It's not what it is, but remember when we grew up, we used to watch, if you snuck, you'd watch those superhero movies, and you had, Superman, and his father was up there, and they had all these guys that decided how. That's how it is. I'm sorry. The Illuminati is the people, the entity that run the government within the government. And so that is why in West Palm Beach we have this huge dome, that was once an auditorium.
Yeah, we helped build it. My mom and I helped build it.
Yeah, my mother too. And here we have a newspaper, the Palm Beach Post, will not print anything because half of the writing staff are Jehovah's Witnesses. We have entities that you put people in the right place, and they know, it's so deep. It's kind of hard because I don't want to offend non-Christians. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, this is Gus. I was thinking about how scarred Jehovah's Witness children are, and recently, and this is not new, but somebody posted to connect the dots of a woman that's an absolute terror. And this is an activity sheet for children. Connect the dots of the terrified woman. And it just tells you they can't buy a clue as to what you should give children. I mean, connect the dots of a woman who is just, her face is in terror.
Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy. Mom, I got to show you this thing. Oh, my goodness.
I'm not hearing you. Can you guys explain this to me, Gus? I don't understand what we're talking about.
Have you ever had when you're a kid, you have to connect the dots, and you connect the dots, and maybe it makes an elephant when you've connected all the dots? Well, they have an activity sheet for children, and it's a connected dots. And when you finish connecting the dots, it's the face of a woman that is absolutely in terror. No doubt it's because Armageddon, and she's staring at in terror at, I guess, her imminent death at Armageddon. And so they have a connected dot of this face of a woman in absolute terror for children. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I saw that today on Facebook. It's like a connect the dots thing, like you said, and you could. But even before you connect the dots, you can make out the image, and it's a woman, just like those images we had of the woman running away from the fireball that's about to hit her. It's that terror face, and
yeah,
I was like,
okay, I've
wow.
seen that. Oh my goodness, I haven't been on Facebook enough today to see that, but I know what you're talking about, and that's my point. The artwork that is used by the art committee, up on that floor. I've even had people who study that talk to me. Those people, they are given a task, and I truly believe that some of them are a part of knowing, and then some of them are a part of the not knowing of what they're doing, because that's how Bethel works. And unfortunately, because it's changed so much, and they've moved, and they're moving, and they're letting go so many people. It's going to get more intense. I have friends that do just the subliminal messages, and in the new Bible, which I've already torn that sucker apart, and I can't wait to finish. I love that Bible because I'm able to use it now to help Jehovah's Witnesses, whereas before I didn't do that. That Bible already has subliminal messages in it in the back in King Nebuchadnezzar. And all I can tell you is look at the left knee, look down at the kneecap, and work your way up. And I won't even say what it is. I'll just say women don't have them. Or don't have one. And I didn't believe it till I saw it. And I opened up my Bible, and there it is. And I opened up a friend's Bible, and there it is. So it's not like a typo, you guys. These are the Illuminati sending these subliminal messages to mock this whole. What the Jehovah's Witnesses don't realize is, you talked about it earlier, there's going to come a moment, I believe this since 2013, and it's coming true, everything has come true because it's obvious that you're going to pull up, and there isn't going to be an open Kingdom Hall. It is all going to be online. And what better way to control the mind than staring at a computer?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in one of our shows. We're going to talk about how everything's moving out to the computer.
Yeah. So...
Wow,
right
Wendy.
Now, the ones coming out, we've got to first cater to the hurt, but then give hope. And that doesn't mean, hey, look, brother, if you don't accept Jesus now, you're doomed. No, it just means giving them the love and the attention and the time and letting them talk. And then when they ask you, hey, Wendy, how did you do it? Well, I can only say if I hadn't accepted Christ, I don't know where I'd be right now, because the depression after losing my career as a bodybuilder, and only being able to be an instructor, and the money went down and the modeling stopped and all that, I got news for you. I was pissed. But I was put in the right hands, and I didn't know it, and I wasn't able to look back and see the map that was already drawn for me before time, and now I see it, and so now my path is there. I get more out of listening to people talk about their situation and then be able to contact them, or they contact me and talk about being raped, talk about being beaten, talk about being considered disgusting and dirty by everybody in the Kingdom Hall because, you know, when I came back from that one rehab and my dad had me locked up, the first few times I had to go to Kingdom Hall, people just looked at me with utter disgust, and that's why I refused to go after that, and I was locked in my room while they were gone for 2 hours, 3 hours, you know. Right. So, you know, forget the Illuminati. We've got our own demons to deal with here. But we do need to be honest with ourselves and know that we can't stop the Watchtower. We can only help those that are coming. And don't chase them. They will come to you. I believe that wholeheartedly because I rarely make a phone call. I always receive them, and it's because I know this is where I belong because I feel better as a person, and I'm not ashamed of myself. I'm not ashamed to say that I've shot up. I've overdosed. I'm not ashamed to say, you know, that I've done things that are when I think about it now, I'm like, me? I did that? Oh, yeah, that's a different person. But I understand now why I did it. I didn't have any love. I wasn't loved by the people around me. I've gotten more love on the phone and on the computer from XJWs than I have from people immediately around me in my whole life, except for my church people that I have now. So you're all here for a reason.
Yeah. So we really got to keep the fight. We got to keep on being supportive to one another. And so I hope you're not a stranger to us in our little endeavor. This is our
number. I won't talk.
This is our inauguration. Yeah, go ahead.
Wendy?
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, I want to send you a cyber hug.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. You guys are so sweet. Thank you. You know, I want to say something. When I went up to Massachusetts, I was diagnosed with a disease that I didn't know I had my whole life. Going up to Massachusetts was probably the biggest mistake of my life until after the storm started, and then I started relying on my Lord and my brothers and sisters. I was healed of that disease. I was diagnosed with Hep C in 2013. I was the first person in Massachusetts to receive the new Harvoni drug. I got it for free, $66,000. If I had not gone there and God had not made something really bad, something good, I wouldn't have known that I had a disease that would have killed me, my liver and my kidneys. And I also was diagnosed with an eye disease that is not curable. And so I think that the tribulation I went through was a blessing because I have the power just like you guys now. I know I have it. I want you to know that the storms aren't going to end. They've only just begun. But now if you can just look back and see what you survived being in a cult, and now that you come to a place where everybody, you don't have to be ashamed of saying I did drugs and got high and did what I had to. I got raped. I got this. I got beaten. You don't have to feel ashamed. You can feel proud because you're here. And when you decide to make that decision to open up and tell somebody, yeah, I was gang raped. I woke up in a hotel and there were 50 bottles around and my clothes were gone. Yeah, I did this. I did that. But you know what? I'm healthy. Thanks to my Lord and Savior who healed me and gave me a blessing. I have treatment for my eyes, and I have a million friends that I can call up at any time and say, Josh, I need you, man. Today I'm feeling really bad. I'm not being able to be Christ-like. I'm pissed. Help me. And I know he'll pray for me. And so that's what I got out of coming to Christ and coming to a place where even if you weren't a Christian, you were just somebody that wanted to listen. So now I'm on the other end, except for when I come here. I will want to say something, but I'm just happy I was invited, and I'm so happy, and I'm going to pray so hard for this new outreach. It's just you're going to hear me tonight praying.
All right, thank you so much, and we're gonna keep hopefully working with Blog Talk and whoever Talk and with Feeders or whoever. You know, I just think we all just need to just work together if possible.
Right.
So we kind of went We kind of went a little bit over a couple minutes, but we're going to go ahead and roll the show. Now I heard Gus in the background. Wendy, you said you're going to stay with us. I hope you stay with us. We're going to go into our next show, Topical Discussions with Josh and Caleb. And I just want to check, Caleb, are you out there, Caleb? Caleb, are you out there?
Yes, I am, Josh.
Okay, all righty, very good. So thank you once again.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody, for your support and your input. And I'm looking forward. I'm going to post it now on your site to hearing from you, whether it be a phone call, an email, or a chat, or come on the show. It doesn't matter. But I'm here for you, and I'm so happy and blessed. I feel blessed tonight that I have a new group of people that care about me the way that I care about them. So God bless all of you, and thank you so much for the time.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Wendy. So we're going to go over to the Crazy Goyim over there in Springfield, Massachusetts. It's going to be two Crazy Goyims, me, Josh, and Caleb. Goyim is what you call a non-Jew, but it'll all make sense in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to get into some archaeology, some manuscripts, some interesting stuff, just a little break from the normal what we've been doing. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. Hello.